Dr. Ram Charan, Global Advisor to CEOs and Corporate Boards, in conversation with Mr. Suresh Raju, Founder and Director, Golden Hills, Vice President, TAI Hyderabad, and Co-Chair of TSS2021. Mr. Suresh is an entrepreneur in investment management and fintech markets. I'm going to request Mr. Suresh Raju to kindly take over.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to TAI Sustainability Summit 2021. We're all excited to have you participate in this global conference. Welcome, Dr. Ram Charan. Look forward to a wonderful conversation on operationalizing sustainability for mainstream adoption. It is my honor today to introduce Dr. Ram Charan, a world-renowned author, advisor to CEOs and boards of Fortune 50 companies over a 50-year career. Highly actionable, practical advice that can be used on Monday morning. That is what Dr. Ram Charan is known for. From a family shoe shop in North India to an MBA and doctorate degrees from Harvard Business School, and further becoming a professor at Harvard Business School, nurturing and guiding hundreds of Harvard Business School students over the years. Ram has authored 30 plus books, sold 4 million plus copies. He serves on several boards across the globe: China, India, US, Brazil, and in Europe. And he's very active. Involvement in operational activities differentiates him. He is an active board member and involves in the operational initiatives in both public and private companies. Thank you, Dr. Ram Charan, for joining us today, and look forward to your masterclass on operationalizing sustainability for mainstream adoption. May I request Dr. Ram Charan to kind of help us understand how to operationalize sustainability. What is the framework? Everybody at the conference today is talking about the urgency to do something, but what are the steps, Doctor, to kind of take us to implementing these operationalization and initiatives?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to this session. There's a flood of money coming into companies, into assets. The investors are falling over each other. There is a skepticism because when some company announces we will have net zero in 2050, people say, you won't be there. Yeah. What will sustain it? Where it is to be done? So here I have 6 steps of going from here. And these are steps over the 50 years. And the book I wrote on execution with the former CEO of Honeywell, Larry Bassity, you discover very quickly there are great people who think, set goals, but unless you execute them well, you don't build credibility. Operationalizing requires working down to earth, hands-on. You have to have resilience. You've got to have a grit to solve those nitty-gritty problems. It's different from those who think ideas. And no company succeeds. And 80% of the competitive advantage or some such number comes from operationalizing, sustaining it, having a cadence, having a rhythm to it. If people who love to do that, they get recognized, they get rewarded. Before I go into sustaining, we have companies in the world. A Toyota is one of the best examples of execution. I don't hear ever Toyota to be the greatest innovator. Apple is the innovator and executor. And here, you got to have both. So item number 1 in the framework. The board, excuse me, and the top management must have conviction. This is here. We're going to be with it. We're going to drive it. Eliminate myths and disbeliefs and see the future of the new age. Earn credibility first with the customers and with the employees. There, it has an effect on your business. So let me give you some myths and disbeliefs. Number one, it is something we have to do. That's wrong. It is something we're going to do, and this something is going to change the whole business, which I'll take you through some details.
Okay.
That's your mindset. Starting from the board, starting from the CEO, you're going to say, we have examples, which I will give you, where you have done both the sustainability, ESG, and the value creation for the shareholder. We should learn from them. It's done. It's not a guess. It has been executed. I'm allowed to see these, and I'm allowed to see what they do. So change your mindset of all leaders in your company, starting from the board, and say you're going to reprioritize your work, and that it is going to be in the central stream of the business. You start with the scope 1, something you do, something you announce for the 8 quarters. And in those 8 quarters, you are able to put milestones. And in those milestones, you communicate. Be honest about it. We make some mistakes, admit them, because it has to be reinvented. Why am I saying that? For 100 years or so, our people on this planet invented, reinvented, and brought us to this standard of living. We're going to go the other way now. Reset the planet, a recycled planet. It will create a huge new GDP. BCG announces $3.5 trillion new GDP by 2025. John Kerry, the former senator and Secretary of State, says it's going to be more than 100 trillion over a period of time. These are big numbers.
Yeah.
We don't debate those. You say, what are we going to do for the next 8 quarters?
Yeah.
What are the milestones? What are the key actions? Who's going to do that? And believe that we're going to do this. So the first point is conviction, reprioritization. I see in Burger King, you should see the new packages, totally recyclable. Done. Each of us, until everybody on this planet pays attention to recycling, we will not have the net zero. And therefore, you start with the companies first and have everybody in your company, in your organization, become aware every single day. What is the waste? What is the waste? What is the waste? And guess who's the world's best about the waste culture? Toyota. It is in the DNA. We can put that in. It is not a rocket science, but we got to demand, we got to illustrate, we got to get volunteers to do that. This is something a democracy will do better than authoritarian regime, because people want to do. They're going to live with changing the habits. That is item number 1. Okay. You cannot do enough repetitive communication with examples. Start in the company first, start with the customers, and start with your suppliers. Do that. So that's number 1. Number 2, we don't need a doctoral thesis or multi-million-dollar research. Everybody knows it. We ignore it. People before strategy. People conceive a strategy. People motivate other people to work. Excuse me. People build teams. People create visions. People execute. So the second item for the boards, for the management, doesn't matter what kind of organization, you need to select people, right people. You got to define the job and priorities. Even though you start with 3 people in the board, I am having in America, you reshuffle the work of the board. You're going to reshuffle the committees because ESG is going to be at the center. Yeah. It cannot be done without digitization. Boards don't do, they get it done. They nudge the executives. There is ideas, but they don't do. But they're going to get it done. So what is this committee of the board? So I'm on a number of boards, and I'm saying, you got to change the committees. You got to put ESG at the center. Not because I'm talking, but because you're going to be evaluated. You're going to have the investors going to look at it. They're going to talk to you. Say, where is it? Who is accountable? What are you doing? And to do that, same thing about the CEO. You select people who are the right ones, define the job, and they have accountable people. You've got to have people accountable. And in doing that, you've got to have the right people in the right job. And the three first people I haven't mentioned, they have to be full-time, which I'll give you what they need to do. This is something I picked up from Amazon, from Jeff Bezos, that you have 3 full-time people, you can have 4, you can have 5, but this is their full-time job, they don't do anything else. They call it single-threaded separable team. It has to be by the office of the CEO, because execution requires going through the walls of silos, walls of old culture in silos, has to go through the walls of power structure. You have to go through the walls. Nobody has a single source of data. And so the data is hidden. These people will identify, they will work with the people. They are not going to hit. They're going to educate, influence, get their collaboration. Good news, people want to do that. And so do that. And then when you do for the people who are assigning these priorities, what are the KPIs and what is the compensation with the KPIs? Now, please, a very important item. I am not talking KPIs for 2050. 8 quarters, year by year, not 5 years, no. We're going to do this, which I'll explain in a minute. And this is the KPI, who's accountable, what's the team, what's the compensation. In Apple, Tim Cook has a percentage of compensation based on annual accomplishment of the KPIs. Eaton, same thing. It is happening.
Yeah.
And here, so that is item number 2.
Okay.
Leaders select people, leaders prioritize. Leaders get people what you're going to do quarter by quarter with collaboration together. And in doing that, here is a very important part of operationalizing. No company alone can do this.
Yeah.
You got
Dr.
to have.
Ramcharan, how long does it take to create that, I guess, depth of penetration into the organization through this core set of people to actually change the culture? You have the conviction at the top, but how do you push that down, and how long do I need to be in that path?
Great question. I want you to know the old adage, a journey of 1,000 miles, start with the first step.
Yeah.
This is an area, you start with the first step. It may take you 90 days, 120 days. And you communicate. Do town halls. People want to do that.
Yeah.
They will shift their mindset. So I have a company, very big company, called Fidelity in Boston. This lady, Kathy Murphy, did a pilot. Pilot was very successful. It took 1 year.
Yeah.
When it was successful, the people came to her and said, why not us? Why aren't you including us?
Yeah.
There's a great company in Bangkok, about 10 billion, Indorama, Indian gentleman founded, run it. And here they have a group of 50 people roughly, they meet every quarter. They were given the assignment in the teams of 6 or 7 and say, where do we fix? Where do we focus? Where is the priority?
Yeah.
They all came back. I have another company called Westlake, same way. Engage the people. People want to do this. Get the mindset change. And you don't worry about the whole company. You start where the leaders are. 2% of the people have 98% of the impact. Find those 2% all over, across, diagonally, vertically. They are there. Everybody knows who they are. They are the movers, shakers, and influencers. Get them aboard. So that was item number 2.
Yeah.
And here I've come, you got to have a mega communications, repeat. And people want to hear that. Now I come to very nitty-gritty hands-on work, which I'm personally doing it, linked with the companies. For every company, no matter what the organization, you must map end-to-end flow. In a company, you take, for example, you and I wearing a shirt. Shirt starts with the cotton from a farmer.
Yeah.
Or plastics from a chemical company. It converts into fabric. It goes to manufacturing. So these manufacturers of shirts, would you believe there are almost as many as 1,000 plants in the world from which they source?
Yeah.
They're very old. They have a lot of carbon. Then it is manufactured, cut, dyed, a lot of carbon. Then it goes to trucks, aeroplanes, ships, all carbon. Then it goes to warehouses, maybe 2 or 3 sequencing. And then it goes to the stores, and then it is sold. Now, if I leave you here, I will be doing a great disservice. That's not over. It has to be recycled. It has to be collected back. So there is a store here in New York. They have now a recycled store. There's a company called Depop, where they have the generations, buys used clothes. So recycling, we have for the cans now, recycling of clothes. Now you have to change your business model. What do I mean? In the shirt business, apparel business, 50% of the inventory is wasted. You got to use a different way to manage. No wastage, produce less. You got to go to fabric. Fabric has a huge carbon. Start working now, don't wait.
Yeah.
You got to have a lot of carbon in the logistics, in the warehouses. They call scope 1. Prioritize, assign accountability, have KPIs, put a dashboard, reward the people, and allocate your capital. Now here is a myth. Say, Ram, we have a lot of cash to invest. Cost going higher. We will never earn a return. I want you to know, I'm reporting to you correctly. Your cost is increasing on this item at this stage. But you have a cost decrease in this subsequent part of your value chain.
Yeah.
So in the case of the shirt, there's a cost increase in the early part of it, but the equipment costs have gone down.
Yeah.
So business model, as the chairman of Uniqlo is now in the price range they are, is now the #1 market cap company in the world. Japanese, fantastic job. And he keeps saying that reinvent the business model totally because the industry will be reinvented. What does it mean? That you're going to manage end-to-end value chain. You're going to create those individual locations on the chain that needs to be changed in a new way. Now, what is new way? You start fresh. You don't start just substitute. Substitution is the wrong thing to do. We have started new products.
Can I ask a question there?
Yeah.
With globalization, all the value chains have become more complex. And now you have third-party vendors, third-party suppliers. How do you push your interest on sustainability and limiting wastage and saving that 50% fabric? How do you push that downstream to your suppliers and vendors?
Yeah, great point. So in a company like Uniqlo, there is a total team assigned to it. They have now reduced the number of suppliers. They're putting engineers in each of those supplier companies, and they're rejiggering the whole method, whole sustainability. One of the greatest carbon creators is dying.
Okay.
People need to guess who solved that problem. In 1976, Intel chips.
Yeah.
They clean up. We've invented the technologies, but we've got to work together as eco-partners. We've got to show that cost will increase, yes, but it's going to decrease elsewhere. New products, we got to run in parallel. The new products, that's ECO, ESG certified, and the products we are carrying out. So the best example is our Indra Nui of Pepsi. She did that 5 years ago. It's not new. She recognized what was coming, and she decided the product has to be different. Guess what? She recruited people from pharmaceutical industry for the product. She recruited people to redesign the equipment. Activist shareholder came and almost tried to get her fired. She had resilience. She knows how to execute extremely well. There was another Indian gentleman who was running Latin America. He came from McKinsey and CFO. And in doing that, the product reformulation, equipment reformulation, the logistics trucks getting down to net zero, she was able to show market cap higher than any competitor. And the activist shareholder made a ton of money out of Pepsi. Benchmark it. Yeah. They are there. And Eaton is moving. John Deere is moving. And a lot of information available on the website. So go to the people who are executing. And they have this 8-quarter, not 12 quarters, not 60 quarters, quarter by quarter. This is how the people who execute. And getting everybody mindful of waste. I waste water when I shave. I waste when I drink a beverage like Coke, we have that little plastic tube. We don't need it. These are the habits we get to do. So the net zero base reinvention, not substitution. And say we got to look at this whole thing totally differently, because I want to say every single product will be reconstituted. Focus it now and run the existing product and the new product in parallel and reinvent. So the customer demand is being built. It's no different in Adobe. I met last night Shantanu, who is the CEO of Adobe. He went through and he had a product that used to sell for $5 million. He changed all that. People wouldn't like it. He made it a product to every consumer. And people didn't want it. So he ran both products in parallel. And eventually the consumer got it. You know what he's done? His market cap in his tenure has gone up 15 times. Tell me one more company.
Yeah.
That's native. That's not native. Amazon. That's a digital born.
Yeah.
And he's very modest. His clothes are cheaper than mine. Yeah. I'm not kidding. Yeah. Very humble. So we have people who are doing it. Let's benchmark them, learn from them.
Yeah.
The next item is that your business model is going to change. Your pricing, your gross margin, your cost, and your cost will be shared. But please, here I want to tell about the companies. It's very important. They don't understand it yet. The GAAP accounting is misleading. Give it up. We went to EBITDA. Now people calling adjusted EBITDA. Forget it. Go to the old Indian way, which I was trained as the shoe shop. And in my days, there were very big families, the Modis, the Birlas, the Maffatlals, the Bombay Dyeing. And these people had no degrees, none. And they manage by cash.
Yeah.
Cash is cash unless there is a fraud. So manage your company on the cash basis. And redo your financial statements of P&L, profit and loss, balance sheet and cash flow. Take out the gibberish of accounting. Cash is cash.
Yeah.
And say, how are you improving your cash? Allocating your cash to the right priorities. And then watching you doing with the discipline, reducing waste going forward. So that was my item number 4.
Yeah.
Item number 5, new technologies are coming. You got to search it every day. There's a huge going on, huge amount of algorithms going on. I just saw one in Microsoft. Now, you and I don't know about you, but I can tell you my limitation. I can't think of more than 4 or 5 variables at the same time.
Yeah.
Some people say they can do.
Yeah.
Now, when somebody is doing ESG and doing profitable product and regulations and partners, how many variables could we imagine? It's huge.
Yeah. Tens, hundreds.
No. Microsoft has invented 2 billion.
Yeah.
And take a guess, what kind of people are there? Indians, Chinese, Japanese, total diversity. Now it is there. Once it becomes commercialized, of course, Microsoft will market it. So we have these great companies who are fully looked into it. And by the way, Microsoft Satya Nadella has declared the goals he wants to accomplish. He has assigned his compensation is linked on an annual basis.
Mm-hmm.
Search newer technologies. They will reduce costs. They will cut cycle time. Educate people. Yeah. Spread out in the company, partners, suppliers, customers.
Yeah.
And develop new skills. And the last point I have is we're going to have a continuously recycling planet. Cannot be done unless everybody changes the habit. Now we say that's long term, correct. But we can start now in your own company. You don't have to wait. We did that for COVID, didn't we? Everybody.
Yeah.
People are still objecting, leaders making a decision. Why not ESG?
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
And people will volunteer. In India, volunteering is very big.
Yeah.
You can do this. And so converting this 100 years of pollution into a new reset planet, each of us, every single day. So I was lucky one day to sit down, the then newly appointed CEO of Novartis, Mas Narasimhan, fantastic human being, great inventor. I think people like him, Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, Shantanu Narayanan of Adobe. These are exceptional, but they were all born in India. They're us. So what he does, I say, what do you do? He said, every morning I take the time. How do I get the best out of the day?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
How do I get the best out of the day? Because the day is common to all of us. You cannot expend it. You can contract it. And that gives you energy. It's not an imposition. It's volunteering. We will volunteer. That's democracy. We cannot impose on people to change habit. It cannot be done.
Yeah.
It has to come. And so people who are attending this, get on hands-on, insist what we're doing quarter by quarter, announce it. We will drop the ball, pick it up again. There'll be uncertainties.
Yeah.
Change the mindset. It is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Dr. Ramcharan, for those 6 points. For the benefit of everybody, I will quickly summarize them. The first point Dr. Ramcharan said was have conviction at the board and the management team to believe and do what needs to be done for the ESG. Number 2, select a small group of people. Start small. 2% can make the difference to the 98% of your team and the company. Number 3, mindful of waste, right? Optimize the value chain. Take every dollar, every cent, and don't waste it, right? Number 4, reinvent the business model, pricing, gross margins, focus on cash. Forget about gap accounting. Look at what you're allocating cash to and what return are you getting in terms of cash. Number 4, keep an eye out for new technologies, search for the new technologies that are coming, which will help you cut costs and cycle times. That makes a huge difference. Number 6, continuously recycling plan, right? Do what you can do best every day and try to optimize the processes, right? And if you are focused on continuously recycling, things will pan out.
Exactly.
Yes, Dr.
Let me mention 2 things. Yeah, go ahead. I want to be sure everybody understands this. And that is, we have done many times in India in companies, have Indian values, I live with them, come from India. Every supervisor, every leader in a company, in an organization, can take first 10 minutes every day, what each of us have done to reduce waste.
Yeah.
Publicize. You will change the culture very fast. Cash. If you manage by cash, I guarantee you, because I've seen it, I do it, that your gap accounting will be much better. They will be solid. The investors have begun to compare not EBITDA, they're comparing market cap.
Yeah.
And market cap is a function of revenue growth and absolute cash growth you earn.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
I know it. So we're not convincing them. What is different? Government used to do these things. It is the democracy and capitalism that's driving this, like almost a flood of money.
Yeah.
Nobody can do that in the world. This is the first time I've come to know where without the government mandate, how fast this is moving. It's good news. Get ahead of the curve, as people have. Pepsi has. Uniqlo is getting. Indorama is going. John Deere is going. Eaton is going. I'm sure there are in India. Mahindras are going. Birlas are going.
There is this myth about sustainability and business being binary, either or. How do you integrate sustainability into business? I understand the 6 points that you have said in the framework, and maybe an example or so, Dr. Ramcharan, where it can be done and it's not seen as being binary.
Yeah, great question. But I want you to know the Adani Group, I've seen their products happening going forward. So the key point is first, your own mindset that it is not either or, that we have in the case of the shirt example, you have fabric is the greatest polluter. America put a tariff on shirts from one supplier coming in. We will have the markers on shirts, how much carbon it has. So when I say it's not either or, you start redesigning your product as the core. Every company's basic business starts with the product.
Yeah.
Start now. Pepsi did that. And so that's how you create a business model that may have a higher price, may have a higher margin, because mostly you will see a higher margin coming out. But you're going to run the two kinds of products in parallel because your initial design of the ESG product may be off the mark. You got to learn. Just like in the old days, a Diet Coke picked up, but the first Coke really was terrible.
Yeah.
People didn't like that. And so it's very common when you start something new, you start with a new business model, and then it becomes a subset. Give you an example. You look at the automotive company. If you take the old hardware people who don't understand the algorithms, the radar, the LIDAR, you will never get there. So there is a company called Delphi, I work with the board. And they put a new CEO in from inside, and they came to the conclusion that the design of the car is not going to be done by the previous type of automotive company. Same thing about Tesla. The Tesla design of the car, he did not do that. He had people, the man who built it, they used the Silicon Valley guys to come and design the car and the batteries. Yeah. Because that will drive the whole design. Reinvent the design. You need new skills. Yeah. Every product will be ESG based. There's no issue about that. But you have to experiment, you have to reinvent, you got to learn with the pace, because at the end of the day, who is the king? The customer.
Then I just want to change a little bit on the topic here and talk about the consumerism, right? There is a lot of consumption. We want more for less, and we want to consume as much as we can, right? Do we spend time to change the consumer behavior? Do we give products from the business side which provides that alternative? As you talked about the Adobe case, where you have a second product running parallelly and kind of change the behavior of the consumer to pick the other one, which is more ESG oriented and sustainable, which is more effective. A lot of talk around how do we reduce the consumerism in the market.
Yeah, let me take you through this. The good news is there's a lot of health consciousness. Yeah. We have Fitbit, we have Apple Watches, people regulating because they're now aware preventative health is more important than post-disease. Having said that, now there's a company called Campbell Soup in America. It was teetering kind of in a bad way. 2 years ago, they had a new CEO from outside. So one of the things I do in life, I go to restaurants, to the supermarkets, I see what's new. Would you believe they have now a small can of tomato juice, apple juice, all kinds of juices, 30 calories. Yeah. Only thing that is objectionable is sodium, if you can argue that. People developing that, people becoming conscious, and people seeing that there's a social norm evolving that you don't eat every day 3,000 calorie dinner. So health side and the E part of SG, they actually are a part of the same thinking. But if we make everybody in your organization, what waste did you notice yesterday? What did you do about it?
So what I'm hearing, Dr. Ram, is that we are actually saying if the entrepreneurs can innovate the right product and the right service, the consumers will adopt these environmentally more regenerative products, right?
Yeah, the only change I'm saying, you have no choice. Somebody will.
Yeah.
This is the word.
Yeah.
Somebody will. We already have the apparel that is recyclable. We have bottles that are recycled today. We have cans recycled today. Actually, in the can, and Coca-Cola says, recycle me.
Yeah.
Indorama, $1 billion in recycling. Yeah. It's moving. Absolutely right.
How can entrepreneurs in developing economies, right? Developing economies transform and foster this change and remove the false choice between great economies and environment, social equity, right? Developing economy entrepreneur versus a developed economy entrepreneur. There is a difference, right? It's a little bit more difficult, challenging. How should people think about it?
Yeah, I think in the entrepreneur part, we can divide into two categories. Excuse me. One is the startups. There are plenty of entrepreneurs in the companies, in medium-sized companies, 100 million, 300 million, 500 million in revenue. We have very good companies in that revenue range. And you know, you got to give them the credit how they can survive, how they can make money. They pay exorbitant interest rates on their debt. It's unbelievable how good these people. I'm working with them. I look at them and I'm saying they are the unsung heroes of the Indian economy. We've got to facilitate that.
Yeah.
And in doing that for the entrepreneurs is a very, very tough. These people are resilient, determined, disciplined. And you start with knowing the consumer, learning the consumer, experimenting with the consumer. So many people have developed startups on a technology basis. Very good. They came from technology. Great. So on the startups I have 15 in China, I've got here in America, is get some people in your team who have experienced go-to-market if you're a technology company. Now, there are many people from Unilever, from Colgate, from Birla's and so on, who love to come to the startups.
Yeah.
It's thrilling to build something. They made their money. They can't wait. And, you know, in Indian culture, you know, people at some age begin to say, I must serve the society. It's cultural. Get those people, get them as their advisors. And then say, what is the totally rethink, where ESG is not a separate item. And start with the product, and then start in the whole value chain end to end, what needs to be recycled, and which parts of the value chain need to change for the waste, carbon, and so on.
TIE as an organization with 60 chapters globally, successful charter members with a philosophy of giving back. What role should we play as TIE in the ESG and sustainability space to kind of, you know, really catalyze the entrepreneurs globally? Any recommendations? Love to hear, Dr. Ramcharan.
Yeah. Mine is something you can adopt Monday morning. We have technology available today.
Yeah.
And we have that many chapters. We have algorithms. Find credible, believable companies, actions companies are taking, and spread them. Create 2-3 minute videos to show them. People can benchmark. Do it globally, not just India. People don't have the knowledge that it is being done. Nothing like seeing. Seeing is believing. We don't have to travel 1,000 miles to see somebody today. TIE can put that on the websites. People can see a 2-minute video and how to reach these people. Make it happen.
Yeah.
It will accelerate the change. It will give confidence.
Yeah. Many of the global Fortune 1000 companies have announced net zero policies for 2050, and many of the press and also industry experts sometimes talk about this as being a marketing side of it, and they're actually not doing much. What should companies do to be more transparent and show their honesty in the ESG so that the real companies making a difference can actually create those business case studies?
Yeah, I've got some good news for you. Because I'm allowed to see these things, they're not in public domain yet.
Okay.
And one of them is, don't delude yourself that you made the announcement, you did your PR, you're okay.
Yeah.
That's a delusion. Starting now, it's already started.
Yeah.
That you are being measured by various outside companies. And that the money will go out of your asset-based investments. Your price-earning ratio will decline. So you got to have credibility. If you lose credibility, it will affect your stock price.
Yeah.
Then you will become a candidate at one point to be acquired. Make no mistake.
Yeah.
Don't delude yourself. I made the announcement, it's a PR. No, you got to go to 8 quarters, quarter by quarter, It's okay if it's a small effort, but earn credibility. When you earn credibility, investors will pay attention to you. In America, 60% of the stock is owned by 20 institutions. You better believe it. They got the people working full time on it. Which one doing, which one is not.
Yeah. What role does the government has to play? The allocators and the government were actually the feed into the entrepreneurs and the consumers. How do you kind of catalyze the government to take quicker actions? How do we move the needle faster? Everybody wants to move this faster now.
Yeah, I like some of the things happening in India, but I don't have the full knowledge. We start with the companies, CEOs, and the people together. I said, collaborate, even for your competitors and suppliers. And lay out a plan. I will tell you in a minute. Lay out a plan what you want from the government to change. We have 100-year-old laws. They need to go.
Yeah.
But we need to go concretely. So one day I was a house guest of a billionaire in India. And the gentleman asked me, would I sit at dinner at 8 o'clock? A regulator is coming.
Yeah.
And I said, I will do that. And the regulator came and they talked. And I couldn't believe it. The regulator kept saying, I didn't know this, I did not this, I did not know this, I did not know this. And what the billionaire was doing, asking for nothing, showing the market facts. So there is another big group in India, and I talked to the eldest son. I said, get your 4 or 5 competitors together, it's legal. And sit together and don't ask from the minister anything. Just get the facts that he can trust. They're not bad people, they're good people. They want to do the right thing. They are locked in a system and they don't have the market facts. They're using now McKinsey and other consulting firms. But you go and build credibility with them that you are there to do something big, not to your individual company. Individual company will follow. They're doing it. It's happening. I'm glad to see the Modi government resolving Vodafone issue, restructuring the telecom issue. It's about time. They have to resolve the airline issue. The Americans will not come to India unless they can see they can earn cost of capital. I sit on this side where the money is allocated.
There's a question here, Dr. Ramcharan, from the audience here. How can for-profit and non-profit actors or NGOs synergize to propel the sustainability agenda?
Yeah, great point. I would start some very basics. As they say, start at home. Get to the waste first.
Yeah.
It's a concrete step. There's huge waste.
Yeah.
Simple things. When you're shaving in the morning, how much water do you waste? Become conscious.
Yeah.
And then communicate. And then you see, you pick one area and see we need the collaboration with NGOs or non-profits. See, the non-profits, people know this, they don't articulate. Non-profit does not mean that you don't have some surplus left at the end of the day. If you don't, you will die because you have to do innovation.
Yeah.
You have to do experimentation. You must have a surplus at the end of the day. Otherwise, you will decay. You're not inventing. You're not training people. So the mindset in nonprofit is social. But when it comes to the money side of it, you must have at the end of the day a few dollars left to carry forward. Otherwise, you won't survive.
There's been a substantial amount of investment and allocators looking into the whole sustainability space and impact investing and so on. As you look at that segment, how would you guide them? Where should they look at? There is sustainability and the climate change and everything else, water, ocean is such a gamut of things. What comes to your mind as the first, second, third, top priority items to focus on?
Yeah. So you go to the most important thing for every single organization. Map end-to-end business of your firm.
Yeah.
Non-profit, profit doesn't matter. You got to map it. It's dirty work. It's not taught. And you got to get the people who know how to map. India is full of industrial engineers. They will do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They need employment too. And then see which one has a high priority. And they are different in each case. In the apparel, highest priority is fabric and dyeing, because I'm looking at it. That's how I know.
Yeah.
In the case of Nike, they got to make a product as soon as they can that is ESG free. Adidas, they will be under attack very quick if they don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to create a new product so the people get used to it, like it, experiment it, run in parallel. Because in their supply chain, they have canvas, they have cotton, they have rubber. They will do that, I have no doubt. But those who don't, they will be left behind. They may join hands together to do new research in the materials, raw materials, yes. We have in concrete. It's a huge carbon issue. So I'm on the board of a company in Canada that now, its name is Nexii, Nexii, and it has the proprietary material where the ESG related emissions are 3/4 less. They're now building beautiful Starbucks stores in America across. They're building Marriott's. And this is a fantastic thing because they have it and the company is adopting it very quickly. By the way, their building cycle time has been cut by 2/3. That's the other part of it. Higher price, lower total cost.
Yeah, higher price, total cost. Okay. Great insights, Dr. Ramcharan. I think the 6 points that you gave as your framework for operationalizing sustainability, I think we are looking forward to your next book on that. Hopefully you'll consider and write an interesting book on how to, actually do it, right? You're kind of helping us execute. We all talk about it, but it's time to take action. Request your last comments to both consumers, businesses, policymakers, your advice on how to make sustainability mainstream.
Thank you. I'm really honored to do that. Just remember, leaders, every moment they interact with, they take that moment of coaching. Anybody asking questions, open the mind. Yeah. Our people in India are very bright. You look at raw talent. You don't have to have a degree. Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ramcharan.